Fresh and
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all my buds. And this is episode 71. And we are joined by a bud that's been too long since we even talked about getting you on the show, Jim. But we're joined by Jim from FABTCG Cards. You know him from Twitter, you know him from the convention halls, and you know him from Azalea Cult with our dear bud Az from Go Again Gaming. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you, MC Fresh. So happy to be here. And yeah, good to see you, or well, not really see, but to be here with you buds.
Oh yeah, and we got a great show for you this week. Well, it's kind of a holiday special, though we're not really going to talk about anything holidays. We have Christmas coming up this weekend, and we're recording on the second night of Hanukkah. And all the buds out there who celebrate anything, I hope you guys are having a good time. So we have a great show for you today. But before we do that, I do want to get into a little business about the Patreon. Fresh and Buds Patreon, which you can find in the show notes. You can get some bonus episodes of me just rambling to myself. You can get a Romping Club membership card.
It's a sick card.
Yeah, Jim's a member, which is very, very generous. And you can get a sticker and a handwritten note for me. And we have some big things planned in 2023 for that. And also, if you haven't already, tune into the Bud Rush Bella that I record and do live on the YouTube with Mr. Viz, aka Gary, on Wednesdays at 9:30 Eastern. This is out on Thursday, so last night was a blast, I'm assuming. And also last night I did the Insidious Chill with Taylor Morrow from the Attack Action Podcast, and it was a ton of fun as well. You can probably find that on all the socials. And this is something that we announced on the Bud Rush Bell last week. We have some merch now, some Bud merch, which is being kind of like we're doing a little tag team with Jeff O. You might know Jeff from just the Flesh and Blood community, and we have a whole bunch of cool things. We have Bud beanies, we have Big Bud's energy shirts, all that kind of fun stuff. It's in like a pre-order stage right now. And I think if you get in by January 4th, all will be well and good. And I can't wait to be sporting it myself. So that will all be in the show notes, and you guys check that out. But yeah, let's get to the episode here with Jim. As I said before, we had talked about this, months ago, getting you on, and it's just life gets in the way.
Absolutely.
And finally, and you know what, to be honest, what a great time to do it now that we know that we're going to the pits and outside.
Absolutely.
Which will be a ton of fun.
So excited. Yeah.
Oh my God. So I do want to get to know the man behind the Colt, Jim.
Yeah.
When did Flesh and Blood come into your life?
Sure. I wasn't in from the beginning, but very shortly after. I kind of jumped into the game right before 2020, like in 2019. I had learned about it and picked up some boxes of Alpha. I actually, nobody local was selling it, so I ended up buying from Reaper Games in Texas. And Bill, shout out to Bill at Reaper Games, he's amazing. And he hooked me up. So that's how I kind of started to get into the game.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you're all in now, but were you into trading card games prior?
Actually, no. Well, I say that. I had played Magic, but in the mid 90s in high school. Not to date myself too much, but very kitchen table, like, before there were card sleeves, kind of Magic. And played it then, kind of moved on to college, and nobody was really playing it at college. So I sold my cards, regrettably, and didn't really touch another TCG until Flesh and Blood. Actually, funny story, I was intending to get back into Magic when I found Flesh and Blood. I just kind of got to a point where I've been primarily a video gamer, PC gamer, and console, and had been doing that for a long time. And I wanted to get kind of that in-person interaction back, playing in a game store, kind of playing with people at a table. So I was going to go back to Magic. It really intimidated me. There was just so much that had changed, so many sets out, so many new styles, I guess, or formats rather, that I was like, this isn't going to work. But in that process, actually through Rudy, he had pitched Flesh and Blood, and I was like, he compared it, I think, to Diablo, and of course, being the computer gamer, I was like, well, that sounds right up my alley, and picked it up from there.
I'm glad you mentioned Diablo, because I personally am pretty excited for Diablo 4. I don't know
Just
about
pre-ordered it yesterday.
I need to do the same. Now. Yeah, and that's interesting. You're actually, it's not uncommon that we get folks on who learned about the game through Rudy, but this is two folks in a row. We had Flukenbox last week and you this week. So
Yeah.
to Rudy, I guess I don't know what the best word. I don't know.
Patreons.
I was gonna say like accolades. I think that sounds like, I think I'm in Diablo mode. I'm like,
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. But so you pick up these alpha boxes, which do you have any left?
I do. I do. I don't like to disclose how many, but because there's a benefit of getting in early. I did start the shop while it was still only alpha out. So I was buying alpha product from distribution, like when I started, just to get stock to put up. So I have some left over that I just decided to hold on to. And then shortly after I started the shop is when Arcane Rising came out.
Cool. Now, you mentioned the shop, which is, of course, FABTCGcards.com.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously we know you as Jim from FABTCG Cards. Can you tell us a little bit about what the shop is in a nutshell? Now, and you do have some other stuff up there.
Yeah, absolutely. It started just as singles. The whole business in the shop was only happened because of COVID. Actually, it's a product of that downtime. I just researched starting an LLC, starting a business, etc. Started just with singles. From there, I actually first got into playmats because early on in the game, it was hard to get an official playmat. Like, you had to win one at an armory, essentially. There hadn't been any events yet, so there weren't any being given out at events. They weren't selling them, and that was it. And then the ones that were being put up for sale were $100+, which were the armory prize ones. So me and a local friend, actually, Evan, who writes the blog that's on the website that I can talk about in a minute, but we partnered together because he's a bit more of an artist. I'm not an artist. And so we partnered together and did those playmats and decided, let's do them, really affordable. So we went a route with them that we could charge like $20 for the non-stitched mat, $25 for the stitched, just to get a cheaper mat that had a Flesh and Blood theme and the layout. Because in this game, everybody likes to have the layout there on the mat, and just kind of really part providing a service and just offering something else on the website. So the playmats were first as the extra product, and then kind of the same. The really other major product was the tokens, and the tokens kind of were born. They were mostly Evan's idea, and he found an artist. We found some of the artists that we use for the playmats and such on Fiverr. Just going through art on that and finding somebody that kind of meets the aesthetic we're looking for. And he found a pen and paper artist, and he's like, dude, we should do some pen and paper like tokens, because that's kind of the aesthetic of the whole FABTCG cards, like logo with the skeleton hand, etc. And we got some samples, and I was like, man, those look sick. We got to do it. And we just started making the most commonly used tokens out of the pen and paper art with that artist.
Now, I gotta say, I do love the tokens, right? This actually was like when we first met. Was it Vegas? Was it
Uh,
Vegas or Jersey? Were you at Jersey? You had to have been at
I
Jersey.
was at Jersey. Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I think Elaine actually introduced me to you first.
Okay, okay,
And I think that was Jersey, but
yeah.
they're all starting to mesh
I
together.
know, I know, right? It was like such a busy year.
Yeah,
But you that's how we met. You gave me some tokens. I was like, these are
yeah,
awesome. I still use the Quicken when I play Levia because I play Swing Big and like one of my favorite things to do is I play Swing Big. I slip the Quicken token underneath, like it's almost like Winter's Whale with a frostbite. It's like, hey,
yeah.
this, it's blocking out.
Little extra on top. There you go.
Yeah, which are awesome. So who like you mentioned Fiverr and the pen and paper. Um, who is the artist for those? Because is it all the same artist?
They are all the same artist. I feel terrible. I'll have to grab one. I meant to do that
Oh,
beforehand, but he's on the card. We listed his name on the bottom of the token.
mm.
Um, I can grab one real quick.
No, no,
We can
no, no.
look. Yeah,
I think it's Luke. Is it Luke? Does it sound right? I
it
was just looking
does.
at it before. I don't have it on me. I don't know where my Levia deck is. It's in shambles right now, which is the saddest thing ever
Yeah,
because I just have not played Levia for like 2 months, and now I want to again. But yeah, no, the art is great. I mean, obviously, I'll throw it all in the show notes, but um, I love those tokens, and they are so unique. And they were the first time I got a token that wasn't like an official token, right? Because like a
right.
lot of people like to do like the foils and stuff like that. I gave the rune chant to Mr. Viz,
Yeah,
aka Gary, and it's pretty awesome. So now Evan also writes a bit on the
yep.
website as well, right? What is he writing there?
Basically, Evan is an English teacher by trade, so he's just a good writer. Period. And he kind of asked me at some point. He's like, "Hey, I'd be interested in kind of writing some blogs just about the game. Does that functionality exist through the web store?" And it did. So I gave him an account to be able to basically get on there and post blogs. He also kind of started the Fab Dad thing,
Oh yeah.
so that effort, yeah. So he wrote a blog kind of around that. Then he's also just written some like kind of deck text, like intro to a deck kind of thing. Um, and he wrote his first thing actually, I think, was when he wrote about the whole process of our doing that community play mat, the necromancer mat with Bima with pencil.
Mhm.
He wrote up about that. So it's really just kind of his hobby to write on the website, on the blog there. So yeah, we host him on there. He usually posts in Facebook and on Twitter when he puts a new one up. And I try to put it up on the front page of the website when he's got a new article up. But they're linked on the main page. You can just go to the articles and see everything he's written.
Yeah, and I also pulled up the tokens. It's Lucas Gerol. I don't know. I want to pronounce it correctly, but it's Lucas Gallardi. Does that sound
Gilardi?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
very possible. Obviously, we've only interacted with him in chat, so I haven't talked to him or
okay,
anything.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, he and most of the artists that we've interacted with in that way, they a lot of them are international. What we'll do is Evan will sometimes give them a rough sketch, like of the idea, and then we kind of tell them. But we want it in, like, for Lucas, it was kind of, here's what we want, but we want it in your pen and paper style, like kind of hand drawn, black and white, etc. And man, he did amazing. Just so much so that we did the two newest ones, the Ash and the Aether Ashwing, with him as well. And I foresee more tokens coming in the future.
Awesome, awesome. Now I do want to shout out Evan because Evan also is running a fantasy football league that I'm in with a bunch of other
Oh, nice.
flesh and blood people. I think the league's called Flesh and Balls. Um,
Of course.
I'm moving on to the finals this weekend, so I'll either be playing Jordan from Flesh and Pod and or Pat Shaw from the Combat Chain. So I'm very excited
That's
to
awesome.
you know
He's also dudes everywhere. He's running a local league for our LGSs in the Washington D.C. metro area. So we're doing this
God.
thing where like every LGS nominated like 3 people, and we're all like playing in this kind of informal tournament just to see like what LGS comes out on top, kind of thing.
That's awesome.
It's pretty
Now,
cool.
so you all are from the metro area of DC. Are
Correct.
there a lot of LGSs in that area?
Yeah, actually a fair amount, especially that carry Fab specifically. Um, so much so that some of the other stuff I've kind of worked on the side are like projects just to kind of get the DC community together, along with Evan and others. We registered and put up FABTCG and it actually has a Google Calendar on it that has all the events for all the LGSs in the metro area, like on the Google Calendar, and then it has links to all the different LGSs that support Flesh and Blood on the page there, and it's just kind of a central point to go to see all of that. In addition to at this point, what most people have, we have a DC area Discord, DC area Facebook group, etc.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's always good to hear of these communities kind of thriving, all over the place. And, it's one of those things like it's funny here in Jersey. I don't think we could do a league because a lot of us are just playing at all the LGSs, like in North Jersey anyway. So
There's
it's
a bit of that here too,
yeah.
but the metro area is spread out enough that
Hmm.
there are some that still have their home LGS,
Hmm.
and so they'll play for their home LGS,
That's awesome.
and it's worked out. So actually, one of them has 2 teams because there were so many that wanted to represent them. So it was like, all right, you got an A and a B team.
That's awesome. Now, in terms of 2023, which is rapidly approaching in about a week here, are there any big plans for you and the website
Yeah,
for next
thanks.
year?
So we want to continue the tokens, especially. We're gonna, as new tokens come out, we'll look at kind of coming up with a design and thought process, and then, have them kind of turned into our style or whatever. Work with Lucas and get them pen and papered. So definitely more tokens. The play mats were in a bit of a hold right now. I would like to do like an assassin mat or something that's newer. The Necromancer project was a big project, and it we invested a lot in that. I don't think we're going to really kind of recover from some of that until the Necromancer comes out. So once that class comes out, we expect to hopefully be able to recoup some of those costs, but we're in the hole a bit for that. So that's why it's kind of hard to justify launching new playmats until we kind of recover from that.
Sure.
But once we do, we want to keep that up as well. Obviously, it's not as much of a need these days. So it's really a battle to just like come up with a cool idea or art that people will want, that they would buy in addition to getting an official mat.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, in terms of the tokens,
Yep.
do you guys do a blood debt token? Because obviously, I play a lot of blood debt, and I think a lot of other
We
folks
don't have a
do as
blood
well.
debt token. And I don't know if you know, though, we do have a blood debt playmat, themed playmat.
Oh,
Our brute playmat was kind of themed around blood debt. As part of that, we launched a blood debt song. So if you haven't heard it, it's on my YouTube channel. It's basically, we commissioned a heavy metal artist just off Fiverr again. Nobody, it's not like Megadeth or anything, but to sing this blood debt song that Evan wrote. And it's actually pretty cool. I like it a lot. But yeah, it was kind of launched alongside the blood debt playmat. And so we have that.
okay.
Definitely check that out if you haven't heard the song. If you haven't, the playmat I think we just called it the brute playmat, but if you look at it, it's like it's like a cross between Reiner and Levia, like is the best way I can
Yeah.
describe it.
Well, I pulled it up here
Yeah.
actually, just because I have seen it somebody's had it that I played against, and I
Yeah,
remember I'd be like, "This
it's
is
been
awesome."
a pretty good seller. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's called the Shadow Brute themed playmat.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is brutal, man.
Yeah.
It
It
is
was
really
heavy
intense.
metal the whole way. Like even the font, I think on the top is like the metal font kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I love it, and that might be going into my cart later. But yeah, that's awesome. Now, 2023 is very exciting, and I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. And hopefully, we get to see you at some events. And I'm sure, based on last year's track record, we will. But
Yeah, I
uh,
unfortunately it'll probably be a little less. Mostly just because it's becoming kind of a burden on the family.
mhm.
um, but I will make some events. Probably the bigger ones. I'm hoping they do another preview event for a set because
Sure.
those are amazing. And I have a lot of fun at those, and a lot of people show up to the preview events in Vegas. And then outside of that, definitely like a Nats or a Worlds, depending on which one's done in the U.S. International is probably still a bit of a stretch for now.
Yeah, yeah, understandably, and I feel that stretch as well. I would love to be at all the events, right? Yeah, I think we all would,
Absolutely,
but
absolutely. Maybe
well,
when I retire.
yeah. Oh my god. Oh yeah, I'll be old and gray at that point, but uh,
I'm
you
not
know,
that far from it, so don't be careful what you say.
hopefully we can do it soon. But now we're coming to my favorite part of the show, the fresh faves, where I'm going to ask you a couple of your favorites, and hopefully you just answer them for me, which would be
Yeah.
nice.
I think these are softballs for me in particular. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's perfect because it sets up our main topic,
Yeah.
which is who is your favorite hero?
Azalea.
Yeah.
Our Lord, our Queen, our Supreme Leader Extraordinaire. Praise be to Azalea.
Now, I do have some questions for you about her uh coming up, so I'll save them. But
That's fine.
Azalea
Yeah.
is what is I guess what was your first experience with Azalea that makes you
Oh,
pick
right
her
when
as your
she
favorite?
came out of Arcane Rising, when Arcane Rising was getting spoiled, and it was Kel that spoiled the bow, I think, etc. I just and I played a lot of. I mentioned I was a video game computer gamer. I did a lot of EverQuest and
Mhm.
MMORPGs, World of Warcraft. I have always just loved the Ranger class in general and anything fantasy. So when Ranger came out, I didn't even care who it was going to be. I was just like, that's going to be what I try because I love Ranger. And then when it was Azalea and I saw some of her lore, I was just this chick's badass. Like I really want to just play her. And so I kind of attached to her right when she came out in Arcane Rising.
Now, it's interesting. Rangers become synonymous, at least in Flesh and Blood, and a lot of other mediums as well. That it's become synonymous with bow and arrow, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm a giant, huge Lord of the Rings fan, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good stuff.
Aragorn is a ranger.
Yep.
But he does some bow and arrow stuff, but it's
He's very
mostly
mostly
sword.
swordsman. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, would you like to see Ranger kind of jump into that a little bit? It's kind of hard based on the design of the game, but would you like to see that?
I would, because I think it is on theme. Now, do I think Azalea should get blades? I
Hmm.
don't think so because I think her shtick is more just the bow and arrow. But I think the Ranger class absolutely could have blades of some kind because
Cool.
it would make sense. It's on theme, and it would add some versatility to the Ranger class with another hero.
Yeah, yeah, and the design space is there to explore,
Mhm.
so that'd be interesting. Now, yeah, she has a few options
Yep.
for her weapon. Which is your favorite weapon? Unless it's a different weapon.
So asking me today, I'm still going to have to say Death Dealer.
Hmm.
However, I've been playing with Sand Scour. Actually, all my local armories recently, I've been playing the Sand Scour just to try it out. Um, I like it. I think it has the potential, and now we know for sure the whole aim counter thing is a part 1 of 2 right now.
Yeah.
So as part 2 comes, it may almost inevitably take over as my favorite weapon for the Ranger. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's a lot of open ended questions with that card, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what it
I actually
is.
still like it. It's perfect right now for the dead hand. Like when you pull
Mhm.
a hand with no arrows, which should rarely happen if you're building your deck as most do, but it still does. If you pull a hand with no arrows, you get another chance with Sand Scour. You get to basically
Mhm.
look at the top card and put it in your arsenal. So that has actually happened to me once or twice in the armories where I've like, yeah, I've got nothing but pumps and a D react in my hand. I can't do anything. I'll activate Sun Scour and I pull an arrow off the top and save my turn.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It was, and it
Yeah.
was very exciting that your cohort got to
Oh
explode.
yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, what's your favorite equipment?
The Skullbone Crosswhap, uh, it's so on theme that's why. And we don't have a lot of choice. Actually, that's another thing that Rangers have kind of been clamoring for is to get like a chess piece or something a little more thematic for legs, etc. So I mean, we have Ranger legs, but everybody just uses them to block. So something that's a little more useful, etc. So the cross wraps is going to have to be my answer for now. And plus, the art's amazing. Like I also am a fan of the steampunk kind of aesthetic. So that's very steampunk. It's really leading me to believe we are going to see some tie-ins in the pits and metrics with mechanologists and Ranger. I mean, obviously we'll see, but there's just so much tie-in to mechanical things and the whole aesthetic on various Ranger cards.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
And I have to say, Skullbone Crosswrap is one of my favorite art. It's also I think it's the first legendary I ever pulled.
Oh, that's
And,
awesome.
and it was either that or Teklo Foundry Heart, but it was Arcane Rising.
Yeah,
So I had both around the same time. I just don't really remember because I was I was just like
that's
looking
awesome.
for what's the
You know,
Arcanite
it
Skull
was
Cap.
yeah, everybody like everybody else.
Yeah.
It's also I think one of the only when I submitted some of my first ed cards recently to be graded in Vegas. Actually,
Hmm.
I did that opening with Kel and Steven in the room. The Skullbone was one of the only ones that was a quad 9/5, and I was like, of course, if it had to be any of them, I'm happy that it's the Skullbone.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That is
Yep.
so cool. Now, what is your favorite attack action, non-attack action, instant? Your run-of-the-mill cards. Fill out your deck. Which card is your favorite?
Red in the Ledger. It is, as and I have talked about this on the cult. It is like the ultimate hero specialization card because it's really powerful. I think it's probably one of the more powerful specializations in the whole game. Uh, and it's so on theme, and it's right now, like a lot of the like including the deck I'm running right now, you run all copies of Red in the Ledger, you run Memorial Grounds to get back Red in the Ledger, you run Knock the Death Whistle to get your Red in the Ledger. Like you're just always trying to get that card in most matchups because it's just that badass. And everything about it I like. The art on it is amazing. They made a playmat with the Red in the Ledger art. I have that. It's uh, all around on theme again. It's just an amazing card.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like it's the card that makes Azalea
Oh, it
like
synergizes with her
scary.
perfectly. Yeah.
She's not the best all the time, but there
She can
are
have a good
times.
run that scares the crap out of people. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
I had a match actually in Jersey. I was in the casual tournaments, which I kind of liked that they did that, by the way.
Hmm.
I did some of those casual matches and I get across from somebody that had never played in an Azalea, and I was like, "Don't worry, she's really cool, but she sucks." But I had a really good like first and second turn, and they're like, "I thought you said she sucks," and I was like, "No, just wait." And then of course everything went after that to nothing, and I had no gas. So I think I did end up winning still, but it was much closer than they were thinking it would be.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but anyway, yeah, she's forever kind of in
Yeah.
that niche.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like as the game continues to grow, which it has been, which is great. there's gonna be more people that never really experienced anything like from the early sets, the first 3 sets,
Sure.
I'll say, right? Because Monarch, because there's only 2 left in CC, right? And they'll probably run into Bolton a lot more. Levia less so. Levi didn't get much in Dynasty, so it's not really the most popular right now. Reinhardt's definitely a lot more popular. And then Azalea, got the Sandscour bow, but it's not, as we said before,
No,
there's
she's gonna have her day in Outsiders. I am very convinced. I also think they're gonna do that for most heroes. So there's still rumors that Brute's gonna be one of the classes. We have pretty much all but confirmed 4 classes in this next set. By
Mhm.
the way, this next set for drafting, I think is gonna be on fire. Like I'm gonna
I
have an
hope so.
Azalea I can draft. That's amazing. But I just think it's going to have a bit of nostalgia to it. I mean, the game's not that old. It kind of feels dumb to say nostalgia to it, but a little bit of that OG game feel, as well as some newness. Anyway, going back to the topic, I think more heroes will get that in the future. But um, the whole thing of Ranger and Azalea, I think, does have a big following. It's
Mhm.
just not played because it isn't very viable to win tournaments. So as she gets support in this next set, I think we're going to see a lot of her.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, it's going to be interesting as a lot of the new people coming in and really experiencing Azalea for the first time, right?
Yeah, it's
Because
true.
I remember playing against my first Azalea and then getting hit by a sleep dart. I was playing Levi. I was like, oh no!
Oh,
I
turned
was
off
like,
your blood debt.
I was like,
Or your
oh
counter to blood debt, rather.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm about to take 15 damage if I don't kill you this turn. It was so brutal. And the Azalea player was excellent too. They made sure to just wait till it would have been a killing blow.
Yeah.
Which
Most Azalea players that are not Azrai, because we're definitely life casuals, um, are so honed in on her because they're so dedicated to her and they've just been playing over and over and over again, that they're pretty scary. And they can do some things that you probably aren't expecting because you don't know all of her cards because you don't play her that often.
yeah.
So there's been some surprises here and there for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. So like we so we talked about kind
Yeah.
of where you got her the love, because like you love Rangers in other games,
Yep.
Arcane Rising was very exciting, um, which I wish I was playing then. Obviously, I can't ever have experienced that, but
Well,
you know,
if it makes you feel better, not a lot of people were. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
when it came out, we did finally have one store in the DC metro area that was carrying it, but there was only like about 6 of us or so that would show up
Mhm.
to like play. Um, and nobody really wanted to spring to do draft, etc. So it really wasn't played by anybody. I think the way that we play current sets for limited, etc.
Sure, and I guess we're better for it now, right?
Yeah,
We needed those 6 people playing in
absolutely.
in
No,
in
and it
2020.
grew from there. Yeah.
Yeah, which is it's awesome to see. It really is. Now, when did so you have this show with
Yeah,
as
the
from Go
Azalea
Gang
cult.
Gaming,
Yeah.
our friend, and it's a smash hit because, like you were saying before, it has this cult following, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same reasons folks like Mansant just
Yeah.
do so well because I mean, obviously there's talent there too, right? I'm not just saying it's like not just because he's the only guy doing Levi stuff, but
He's been doing a fantastic job casting those
oh
matches,
my,
by the way. Yeah.
so good, so good.
Yeah.
He's the best, and that the same goes for Az and you. You
Hmm.
guys, have a great rapport, and you guys are putting out excellent content. Now, how did you and Az, get together?
Yeah, sure. I think we technically were introduced or had our mutual friend Kel that kind of joined us. But also it was a bit on Twitter because the Azalea cult started as a hashtag.
Hmm.
Um, I had just done, I think when we really started talking, I had gone to Disney World and was doing this thing where I was taking a photo of Azalea, the card, like with different scenes and areas of Disney World, just like kind of like a Where's Azalea or whatever, and coming up with like reasons why she was in Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever. Um, and I did this whole series of shots and I hashtagged everything like Azalea cult because we were kind of starting that up. After that, um, we started joking about it, whatever. And he came out, he was like, dude, I want to run a podcast like about Azalea Cult. Are you in? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. That sounds amazing. And we are just in very similar places as far as like the game. So we're both casual players. We're not terribly competitive. We have a lot of similar likes, etc. And it just worked out. And we filmed the first episode, and then we started that kind of community on the Discord with the Azalea Cult, and rely on a lot of those stories and kind of feedback from the player base that loves Azalea to come in. We did kind of stages of shows based on the different like arrows, equipment, etc. to start us off. Now we just kind of talk about people's events, things like that they've done recently, how they've done with the hero. And then of course the last episode was speculation for outsiders.
Yeah, and it's a great mix of things, because this is one thing that's really made me so impressed by the Azalea Cult. And not to say that I wouldn't have been, but it's awesome that you guys can talk about one hero like every single episode. Like that's hard. It's like a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And like, because I do this podcast weekly, and sometimes I have to like really really like hone in on like what are we going to talk about this week, and then also number two, you watch this show, and as is editing it up, and it's like
He's been phenomenal with the editing.
Yeah, you don't like, there are plenty of podcasts that do video, and that, like, yeah, that's fine. Who cares if it's just a video, like the faces as is in there, like inserting like stuff. At least I assume he's the one editing it.
He
I
is.
know
It's all him. Yeah.
And it's very impressive. And like, I hope after people listen to this that they go over and watch Azalea Cole if they haven't already. We have a lot of mutual buds with but it's pretty impressive. Now now that you guys are a few months in, how are you feeling about the show going forward?
We had the same, or I had the same concerns. I don't think he's as is just a go-getter. Dude's always got ideas and thoughts and just goes. What can we consistently come up with? That formula though of like interacting a lot with the Discord is really working out. There's always content there to kind of pull on to do the show from that. In addition though, Outsiders is huge. Like we're going to be able to play off Outsiders for a while. The other thing is too, we kind of do this fortnightly, as they say in England, every 2 weeks. So it's not a weekly. So that gives us more time to kind of have things happen, gather content, etc., which seems to work out for us. So that combination, I think has really worked for us. And I just foresee it going in the future. I do think as new Rangers and stuff come out, we'll probably talk about some of that. We'll always have the focus of Azalea because she's always going to have the special place in the cult. Well, she's the supreme leader of the cult.
Yeah.
So she will always be our supreme leader. But at times, I foresee in the future we may talk about other Rangers and how they're doing, how their gameplay basically goes. If we get a swords ranger, etc., or something like that.
Now you mentioned the Outsiders is good news for all of this.
Yeah.
And because Outsiders, for those of you who don't know, takes place in the pits, and that's where Azalea is from. Do you have any predictions, Jim?
Yeah, I mean I already was pretty horribly wrong with what I said in the last Azalea Cult. I did not think they would put Azalea in it because there wasn't a precedent there. Like we had not really seen in a main set a hero repeating, like another hero kind of reappear. So I didn't think they would do that. However, about a week after we filmed that, James did the interview with the French podcast. I don't want to try to pronounce the name because I will butcher it.
Leo
yeah. I'm Cajun too. I should be, but actually my French is not even close to the French there. Anyway, he spoiled that Azalea would be in it. That said, I'm still kind of, I don't think it will be the exact Azalea that we had in Arcane Rising. I don't think it's going to be star of the show Azalea. Something who's
Sure.
totally overpowered, center of the set. But she's probably going to have some alternate ability, and I'm mixed with that. Like I think that's how they're going to do it. But actually, Joey with Decks and Drafts, I think, has the same viewpoint because I saw him post about it. But I'm holding judgment till I see what it is,
Sure.
and how they do it. But I want to see her keep kind of her shtick, like her dominate ability, her off the top of the deck, etc. I want that to still be there, hopefully. If she's totally retooled, she's not going to be the same as Azalea, at least as we view her as the cult.
Yeah.
So it'll be a little sad. I'm sure I'll get over it very quickly and support her and play her and have no issues. But I'll shed a bit of a tear, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, she's obviously needs to get like a talent, right? All these places have talents.
Yep.
We don't know what the Pit's talent is yet, to my knowledge.
Correct.
And
And she may have something that deals with the aim counters. Like they mentioned, that was only only half introduced. So we're going to see the other half of the aim counter mechanic in Outsiders, which tells me she probably is going to have some interaction with aim counter. Like her hero ability is the best guess I have.
yeah, which would be really cool. Now, it's very exciting, and I'm sure the Azalea cult is a buzz right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That she's coming. And now for the other heroes, other classes, we talked about this last week. The classes that we were due, right? We talked about
well, Assassin's almost certainly going to be in there, right?
Assassin, yeah. We're due, and the longest, like, other than that, mech, we've waited a long time since Arcane, or not, Arcane Rising, since we had a mech in the main set, and then after that, it's been Brute and Warrior that we've waited the longest from Monarch. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go for it. What do
No,
you think the other two are?
I think one of them, especially after the last interview and such, is Alchemist. I think our Lena or whatever, the blue-haired alchemist on the shitty Christmas present mat or art. We confirmed who she was, or James did, and as people kind of went back and found her quotes on cards and things, everything has to do with potions or alchemy or something. So I think she's a hero and she'll be an alchemist. So that would leave us with Ranger, Alchemist, and Assassin. So the last one is really a toss-up.
Sure.
My best guess might be Brute. I like kind of that theory that I've seen out there.
I hope you're right, because we have a couple, if you go into the Pits kind of lore section, right?
Yep. There's some of those
like
clans or whatever. Yeah. Reads Brute like crazy. So
yeah, uses brute force and stuff like that.
I mean, and we know how on the nose LSS is with naming things or referencing things. So
yeah. I mean, they basically have been calling brutes blockheads since the start, anyway. So,
it's true.
Like,
it's true.
Here's a weapon called rock. But yeah, I hope you're correct. Also, I hope you're correct on the Alchemist for many reasons, because it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
and also friend of the show, Russ from Brew Type Cast. I mean, that's like right up his alley. So
I think there's a real good chance.
Now, you say that it might not be the same as Azalea.
Right.
But do you personally have a wish list in Outsiders for Azalea? For like even just the current version of her that you would want, that you can add to the deck?
Yeah, a chess piece. I don't want to run Tunic anymore. I'd like to see a nice Ranger chess piece. That would be fantastic. And I mentioned this actually to I forget which dev I was talking to. I was talking to a couple of them, Gehring and one other. Anyway, I said I'd really like to see a crossbow with a Ranger. I just think that would be a really cool, tool. I could see Azalea with a crossbow. Like, I might not see her with swords, but I could see her with like a one-handed crossbow and a sidearm or something. So Um, that would be really cool. And again, that kind of just brings me back to Diablo. Crossbows are cool. I'd like to
Yeah,
see it.
it
Yeah.
sure is. um, yeah, that sounds awesome. Now, uh, y- we touched on it a bit that, well, even just for you, you think like being able to draft a Ranger again or Azalea again is
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
exciting. I love limited. It sounds like you love limited.
Yep.
Now, we've been getting teased a lot about this is going to be. I mean, they said that about every set. This is going to be the craziest limited drafting experience you've ever had in
Right.
your life. And
It's like Apple when the new iPhone comes out. Every one is
yeah.
the best one ever yet. You know, whatever. They have to say that. It's marketing.
Now, I've been thinking, like, okay, obviously, I want them to be right?
Sure.
Like, I want this to be an amazing draft experience. And I'm thinking, well, how do you make it an amazing draft experience? And and I want to put it on wax right now, and I want to pose this to you, and I want to get your thoughts on it. But
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, what's the biggest issue with Flesh and Blood draft? It's very much on rails, right? You know, once you're kind of into your hero, there isn't a lot of different archetypes. Like sometimes you can kind of go a little slower or faster. Like Oldham could do that in Tails. Now I'm like, well, how do we get different archetypes in constructed? Different equipment, different weapons. Now, how about this? What if the experiences, every hero gets two different token weapons that you get to choose from? All of a sudden, there's two different ways to draft the deck. Does that sound like a great idea, or is it, or am I crazy? Well, I mean, I could be both. It could be both.
I mean, yeah, you can be crazy and having good ideas. Come on now. Aren't we all a little crazy? The Actually, I like that. I think that is a possibility. Having multiple starting points to kind of diversify what you're drafting. I think really the only other way to separate out is a larger pool of generics, maybe.
Hmm.
Just having more cards that anybody can put in that would then influence how you're going to play your hero. Um, yeah. The other thing is the whole 3 hero versus 4 hero. I think James went on record saying he prefers the 3 hero.
Interesting.
Um, I think so far, I think it depends on the heroes. Like, 4 heroes has worked. I actually thought Monarch was a fun draft set. Not a lot of people talk about it, but the whole light and dark thing, like I just
Awesome.
thought that was cool. Yeah, and it was cool to draft and play with. So it can work, I think. But yeah, the Tails I don't think was the greatest draft experience. Uprising I think was okay,
Mhm.
especially right at first, like because people hadn't really kind of figured out uh, all of the mechanics, etc. And I had a lot of fun at Vegas, the Uprising, or not? Was it Vegas that we did the Uprising premiere?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was.
think they've both been in
They've
Vegas
all
at
been in Vegas.
premieres.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. Now it's just pick Fi, and if you didn't have a good car pulled for any of the other heroes or can't pull it, then Fi is going to win. So that's where you don't want to be, obviously,
Mhm.
and you really only have a line of play for each of those. They did try, I guess, in that set. They had some more generic equipment that you could use to diversify up kind of what you're doing, but not to the point that I think of what you're talking about, where you got like maybe thematic weapons that you can choose from right off the
Mhm.
bat to work toward. So that I like that idea too. Yeah, we'll have to see what they do. But yeah, if they're listening, I think they should take that idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I could imagine even to bring it back into the realm of Azalea, right? You mentioned crossbow sidearm, or even like it was a two-handed
Oh yeah,
crossbow,
too
right?
exactly. Well, yeah, or
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're going.
You
Yeah.
could be like, oh, I'm either drafting for the crossbow or I'm drafting for like another death dealer type deal thing,
Yep.
right? You know that sounds kind of fun to me. But you know, it's interesting that I actually probably disagree with you on Tails, right? I
Okay.
think Tails was a pretty overall a positive draft experience. Maybe not so much sealed. Sealed was brutal.
Okay.
And I wonder if I came back to it now that Briar's been errata, does it get any better? I don't think so. There was no real reason or no tools to deal with arcane damage, right?
Yeah, that, I
Uprising,
think that's why
yeah.
I say that. Again, from a casual perspective, that was the
Mhm.
only hero that really did arcane, and there was no way to block it in
Yeah,
limited.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't draft a lot of Lexi, but I drafted a lot of Oldham, and I had a lot of success there. But Briar was pretty dominant for a hot second there.
Yeah.
But things
And
kind of did adjust.
that probably skewed me too, because of course I was trying to force Lexi at every moment just because she was the ranger, and that's what I wanted to play, and never really could get a good deck going.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that probably soured my experience. So it is a bit skewed. But
Well, it's kind of funny if you probably revisited now, you'd probably like nobody touches Alexi anymore, so
you
you
probably
would
get an
just have
amazing pool.
an
Yeah.
amazing deck, which is crazy. But yeah, no, it will be interesting to see where they land, or if they're really saying like this is the most life changing draft experience ever. I hope they're right,
It
I'm
will be because it's
excited.
got Azalea.
Yeah, it's true. It's life changing. I can't wait. I mean, I have a tough time with it. So I do want to know what like for because a lot of the folks out there probably have never even picked up a Ranger or Azalea, right?
Yep.
What should folks know about her before playing her?
Uh, we actually have had people pop into the cult and talk about like, hey, this hero looks interesting. I'd like to play her. Usually I tell folks like, maybe don't learn the game on her. Learn the game, with Bravo. Learn the game with Katsu. Learn the game with kind of like with some of those other original heroes that a little more teach you the basics and kind of go through some more standard gameplay. Now, once you've done that and you've learned the rules, you've learned the game, come back to us. Because if you like the whole Ranger aesthetic and theme, we can tell you how you're going to do Azalea. So the reason though why we bring people over to Azalea is because her very unique mechanic with an
Mhm.
arrow, bow, etc.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the advice of not starting with her, because I believe was it, gosh, I think Elaine
Yeah,
started with Azalea and hated it. and,
I
and
think she did mention that actually. Yeah,
yeah, and we call it the Azalea incident, which we also joked would be a great
that's
band
right.
name.
Actually, I remember that now. It like turned her off the game completely. Yeah,
Yeah, so don't start with Azalea if you're coming here for the first time. But once you get a feel for it, and actually, this is the perfect time. I've found, we're gonna get to draft Azalea, right?
yeah,
A lot of people never got to draft Azalea
right.
in her original form. When you draft a lot, you get such a good feel for the heroes. Like I feel like
Absolutely.
I could pick up Icelander, Phi, Dromai. I feel like I could pick up Oldham, Briar, Lexi, kind of. Those are the heroes I've drafted.
Yeah.
So now's the time. Now's the time.
It's an
So
excellent point.
yeah.
Um, I think we are going to have a surge, obviously, with that, and we'll be happy to welcome anybody into the cult. I think also having a larger pool of people in the cult is going to start unlocking some of the lines of play that we haven't thought of, and of course the new lines of play that will come with the new mechanics, etc. So she's got a bright future, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am, and I would encourage anybody if she's intimidated you in the past, definitely recheck her out. And outsiders, and I mean, you will if you draft, like you
Yeah.
said, and that will be a great way to check her out and learn her. But um, you will see,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, just wait till someone like Michael Hamilton gets his hands on her, and and then we'll
Oh,
also
that would be amazing if we could get him into the cult. Like
the biggest brains in the world. Like,
exactly, like oh my goodness, she would
um,
absolutely be top of the world.
now f- what would you say her play style is? Right. We have like aggro, mid range, control. I don't. I Maybe there's a control version of her. Is she a little bit more aggro or mid range? Would you say?
She's mostly aggro. For the most part, because you really are just going all out, blocking as little as possible to push out as much damage as you can. There are some niche decks out there, and that's what she is known for. Is she is that hero where people create these crazy decks. So there was an OTK Azalea deck that won the Polish what was it, skirmish? I forget which tournament style it was or format.
It had to be
But
skirmish because I believe it was blitz
because it
because
did get some points on the
yeah,
LL. Yeah.
yeah.
But that was an OTK style. The most like the decks I play, etc. There's not much of a sideboard. You just kind of run what you have and
Yeah.
you go all in. Uh, and you have maybe a different strategy depending on what the hero is. But I think that really having just limited playstyle is a result of not having a lot of players teching her.
Mhm.
We have a few that are, like I said, doing those niche things and may make a more control style. Or there was actually as did that pit fight, and we had one of the cult members we called it Guardian Azalea or whatever. It was basically he turtled the whole first half of the game, just doing D reacts over and over again. But what he was doing was filtering his deck to basically nothing but arrows. So at the end of the game, he could dominate everything he was doing. He could just dominate off the top of the deck because the whole deck was arrows because everything else was D reacts. And
That's
that
pretty
was
cool.
it was, it's pit fight, so it's janky, but it was fun. It was cool to watch. So obviously with this new hero, a new version of Azalea, and new tools and new aim mechanic, we're going to get I assume, more play styles than aggro. And we'll just have to see what those are.
Yeah. Well, I hope for some more variety because I think every Azalea I've played against has been a little bit similar. Now,
Sure.
I don't play a lot against Azalea, but I'm sure it's changing. Actually, I chatted with Az earlier today, and I think we're gonna do some gameplay of Levi against Azalea in 2023, which would be a lot of fun.
The Levi
Uh,
matchup is just get the sleep darts out there. It's
yeah, I know. Well, believe me, I know, and I
yeah.
cannot. I'm not actually looking forward to it, but I'm just praying that Az just forgets. But I think he's gonna definitely be packing them, especially because he's probably listening to this
He
right now.
runs a more of a hybrid deck too. He is not straight fire. Like he's got some D
Mhm.
reacts. He's got some other mechanics to deal with things. So that should be a fun matchup.
Yeah, well, if I know Az, there's some jank going on somewhere. So
Has to be.
yeah. Now here's the main question for you,
Yep.
Jim. Should I be learning Azalea? Should I give her a shot? Now, I will say there was a point where I started getting the cards together. I was like, well, I might as well just build her, right?
Yeah, they're cheap.
And then it never, oh yeah, yeah, and then it never came to fruition. What do you think? How should I be learning to play, or should I just let the Azalea cult take care
Tommy, we are here to processize Azalea. We will
of
have everybody converted and coming over to the cult at some point. But in all seriousness, um, obviously wait for outsiders,
Sure.
and please absolutely give her a shot. You have enough support between like me and Az. If you want to, kind of learn some of the basics, you have the cult in general. If
Oh
you need
yeah,
to learn anything, but it's a lot of people once they have learned her. So now I'm not going to say try her,
yeah,
but learned her. It clicks and it's like, yeah, this is cool. Maybe it's not viable right now, but the mechanic is cool, the play style is cool, and it's very unique from every other hero. So that I think is what's going to bring people to her.
awesome. And it might not be as far away from viable as we all might think because we even had the top four finish at the Battle Hardened in Columbus.
Yeah,
And I'm blanking on the name, but whoever did it was on a heater that day with Azalea, and everybody's like, is Azalea gonna take this? And unfortunately,
would have been
fell to the
awesome.
top
I
four. But
I think there's still an element, not to discount the player at all, but I
mhm.
think there's still an element of just opponents not knowing what to do
Oh
against
yeah,
her. And that's there. That's going to go away as she gets more popular. So
definitely.
we will certainly have to have tighter play styles and consistency. That's obviously her main issue right now is consistency. We've got to get more consistency to have her be in those top tournaments, the top
Yeah,
brackets of those tournaments.
absolutely. Now, I do have one listener question for you. It's from Capolo,
Oh
friend of the
yeah,
show. Y'all love Capolo.
that dude's awesome.
He's a medium fella at best. No,
Yeah,
he's great. He asked, is Azalea or Ranger ever going to get a dagger? Now, we had touched on this a little bit about like
yep,
blades.
yeah.
And if so, what is the item for the second hand? A one-handed bow, a utility offhand equipment? What do you think?
Oh well, if I mean that pairs right with the crossbow. I was saying, like your one-handed crossbow, you could have a dagger in the offhand. Yeah, I think that's possible. Matter of fact, I think that's actually the most likely thing. If there is a one-handed bow or crossbow, etc., is that she'll get a. It does makes more sense to be a dagger than a blade,
Sure.
um, as her offhand, and then she has a melee attack. Again, that addresses is a possible answer to the consistency. Like when you get a hand that's kind of off, well, at least you have your sidearm or side blade to do something with. Um, I don't think they'll make a one-handed bow. Those just don't make sense. How do you shoot a bow with one hand?
Yeah.
But the crossbow, I think, is a possibility. You mentioned the sword ranger. I don't think that'll be Azalea, but that might be a future ranger. But yeah, I think if she does get a dagger, I'm thinking crossbow.
Now, here's a question for you building upon that.
Yeah.
So, with the Emperor, we saw dual class for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Now, I don't know if I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on the possibility of being more dual class this soon. I'm sure we'll get that eventually. I mean, we
Yeah.
kind of have to, right? We can't just, you know, keep creating new talents. I think dual class is a way to go. Now, aesthetically, Azalea is very assassin looking. Let's say outsiders kind of, two two heroes or two classes with one stone, right? You
Yep.
get assassin ranger, all of a sudden you can run spider's bite and a one-handed crossbow. How does it Is that something that interests you? Do you think that's possible?
Well, dude, I am, as you say, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm drinking the beer at Blackjack's Tavern. I would be all over that. Um, I don't think it'll happen though.
Okay.
I would love to see it. I think I would be shocked if they introduced in a standard set the dual class right now.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's going to be reserved for unique heroes and circumstances because he's a young hero. Like I think we've got a while before we see an adult
Yeah.
dual class, but I agree it's going to happen and it's going to, eventually um, be more prevalent. I don't think we'll see it in this set. If we did though, oh my gosh, Assassin Azalea, absolutely.
Yeah, then all your worries would be gone,
Yeah.
right? Of
I
like,
actually, for a while, before James finally just said, mech is there's not a talent, it's a class.
mhm,
There was because the whole like border thing with mechanologists, like everybody's like, oh, well, maybe it's a talent, it's not a hero. And I was thinking there could be a mech ranger just because we've seen some of the Azalea art.
sure,
Again, what we mentioned earlier with the steampunk theme. Well, there's bows with scopes and other techie kind of ranger cards out there. So
yeah.
a mech ranger could make sense too.
Yeah, and uh, I wonder because, gosh, what is it? Is it Try Shot? Am I thinking of
Yeah.
that one? You look at and you're like, what is going on here? Like wearing like a crazy looking mask, right?
Yeah,
Um,
there's some tech going on there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we will see. We will see. Now, this was a fun episode. Very enlightening for me. I know Azalea, but I don't know Azalea. So this is a
Well,
lot of fun.
come join the cult at some point. Hang out on the Discord.
Now that is as a Discord that the Azalea
Correct. It's the
cult.
Go Again Gaming Discord for his YouTube channel, and there's an Azalea Cult section in the Discord thread or whatever, section I guess because it's got some sub threads that you can go in and anybody can join and get into and
Cool.
hang out with all the other cult heads.
I'm in that Discord. I've popped into the Azalea cult
Okay.
section. It's all Greek to me. I'm just reading. I'm just like, All right, sounds good. Everybody's having a good time over
We'll
here.
convert you. Don't worry. You'll get there.
I do want a builder, and I'm excited. So, um, could you please, Jim, plug anything you need to plug? And thank you.
Sure. Mostly, obviously, the store, FABTCGcards.com. Otherwise, I spend most of my time on Twitter for social media. I do have an Instagram that I try to update now and then, and Facebook as well. But mostly I'm on Twitter. So if you want to follow me, again, at same thing, FabTCG Cards. Other than that, I have a YouTube channel. I'm not very consistent with posting things on there. Recently, it's just been me and my daughter opening the Fab Advent Calendar packs from DM Armada. But I've got some stuff there, but you'll primarily see me on other people's shows. So there's that.
Well, the Azalea Cult is your show as well. It's you and as
Oh yeah. No, he it's definitely I'm the co-host. He does all the work. So I just show up to talk. So he gets, all the credit for that, for sure. But that's amazing. Obviously, yeah, you will see me on Azalea Cult. Again, about every 2 weeks, we put out a new episode. Be sure to watch the back episodes if you haven't yet. And pop into the Discord and ask questions about Azalea. And if you want to learn how to play her, we're happy to teach you.
Yeah, it's going to be a wealth of knowledge for folks when they finally see the Azalea light, as it were,
Yeah,
and you can go back and watch it all. Now, and I'll post all that stuff in the show notes.
cool.
You can continue to find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. Join the Buds Discord. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great folks in there. Check out the Patreon.
The food channel's my favorite.
The food channel is awesome. We posted on. I posted. I went to Omakase over the weekend, and it was amazing. And I posted a ton of great sushi pics in there. If you're not coming for the flesh and blood, stay for the food. But other than that, you can. Oh, if you're listening to this on YouTube or / watching, like, comment, subscribe, and go check out Az's channel. All that stuff.
Go
Check
Again
out
Gaming.
Azalea Cult, and then and then if you listen on Spotify and iTunes, all that, leave like a review. That helps us get discovered. Now, you mentioned food. I like to end every episode talking about food. What's some food you want to talk about, Jim?
Oh, so I'm gonna have to, just because of the timing. So I grew up in Louisiana. That's actually how Elaine and I really started talking at first, because she is also from Louisiana, and just until recently was living there still. There's a chain there that sells chicken fingers. And I know this already sounds a little lame and plain because it's chicken fingers, but let me tell you, man, this chain has like a sauce that goes with chicken fingers. They have a Texas toast of it. It's amazing. It's called Raisin Cane's. It was primarily only in the South. They've started making their way up into the rest of the U.S., and this week they opened one here in the DC metro area, and I went nuts. I had to go on opening day, get my freaking chicken fingers with the sauce and everything, and love it. That was my food porn for the week.
I just looked it up. There's one 50 minutes from my house in Pennsylvania.
Boom.
Maybe
I've try it out.
I've seen videos of Raisin Canes on like TikTok and stuff. Like people will get like a whole 32-ounce cup of the sauce.
Yeah, apparently you can. My brother, who's still in Louisiana, told me that. He's like, order the sauce in a 32-ounce can. I was like, what am I going to do with 32 ounces of sauce? I don't know. It is good, but I'm not going to drink it. There was another chain local to me called Zaxby's that I had not heard of till I moved up here. They're also chicken fingers. Apparently they were first also before Cane's, and they got a very similar sauce, etc. But there's differences. Like, they were a cool little fix for some, decent chicken fingers. But when Cane's opened up, that was the holy grail. The seas parting. I'm set. I'm good.
Well, I'm gonna have to go try that now. Oh, jeez, I always do this. I already ate dinner, and now I'm hungry again.
We're talking about it. Yeah,
I know. Every single episode, I say the same thing. I was like, "Why do I do this?" And here I go. And I've seen that sauce, and that sauce looks amazing. So,
yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thank
No,
you
I really
all.
appreciate you having me. I'm glad I was finally able to hop on.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and everybody, please have a wonderful, safe holiday and a great weekend.